and we got a lot to talk about because you went from like your journey to being one of the co-founders of FitNation to life into kinesiology to like marathon running to I think it's like a like it was an Ironman type competition. Yeah, man. So it's a lot we got to kind of go through, but um
Let's let's get at it, man.
yeah. So Sonny, you start us off. How did you end up meeting Jas? How was that? And then we'll kind of go from there. We'll
I
kind of
think
lead into things.
Jazz and I met in 2016 around my wedding. Engagement's my first time, I think 2015 when we met, just through family. And then from there ended up going to Fit Nation when I realized I'm pretty mangled. And went in.
Sorry.
One day you're like, hey man, like what exactly do you do for kinesiology? We were at some event and then I started talking about it. And then you
Yeah.
mentioned your upper trap. You said
Yeah.
something, you're like, yeah, at my upper trap, I've seen everybody. You think you could
That
help me with this. So go ahead from there.
and I'll talk that trap is still there, bro. that thing, that thing, that thing's never ending. But I mean, like, and then from there, it just came in for a session, and one thing led to another, and man, it just the friendship grew and the brotherhood grew, and we just kept coming in, and then he got RMT lucky in there, and then we just basically never left, and then and like it was just crazy, man. Like just our own development with bodybuilding and learning our bodies from learning from you about learning the body. And then I felt like for yourself as well, you being able to try things on us because it was kind of like a new thing for you as well, what you were trying to expand on, right? And like we were obviously training heavy and doing everything we're doing. And then I started bringing my boys in and started messaging everybody I knew. I was like, hey, look, bring some in. And you're like, hey, do you know any big bodybuilders? I'm like, yeah, I know a few. I sent a couple of guys in. You're like, dude, that guy was so hard to work on. Like 200 and like, what? I think he weighed like 260, 270 at the time. Was it Tyrone, there was a point where I remember Jazz like, man, my hands are mangled. He said, "You guys are
right?
like monsters. You guys need more active release stuff." And you were up to like 8 sessions a day, right? Eight, maybe more than that. You were getting full days just from working on massive people.
Yeah. There started to be like quite a few of them, but like the thing was, is it was a part of everybody's journey in the sense that I was developing my like as kinesiologists, physios, chiros, we all have a style, and
Yeah.
your style comes from the years of you mangling your own body,
Yeah.
working on people, understanding things, and at the time when you guys came to me, I was in a stage where I was trying to figure things out as well, like what's the best way. I found that manual releasing was working really well for some people. And so that's where I ended there. And I kind of started using an approach that was slightly different than a lot of kins, and kins weren't using hands on. And I think what happened was kinesiologists were being trapped in the sense that a lot weren't going self employed and a lot were working in clinics. And when they're working in clinics, they weren't really allowed to be manual therapists. So they kind of mostly just did exercise. But
Yeah.
because I owned my own place, I was able to kind of take part in whatever it is I wanted to. So I felt like, yeah, this manual stuff was good. And then you guys, I felt like there was an underserviced market or a market that wasn't always getting the best results from traditional practitioners. And that was these bodybuilders, AKA guys that were just lifting super heavy. So then, yeah, I kind of got into that with you guys. And, I think that was the only time I've actually injured my shoulder working on people. Like I remember my right shoulder was, yeah, I was like after a while I was like fuck, I really enjoy this, but this is very tough on the body, and
Man.
there has to be other ways.
Oh yeah, you found a way. You brought that big ass
The
metal rod, boomstick. I was
right?
like, who is this Duffin
He comes up to
fucking
me with the
guy
rod. I'm like,
jamming?
what are you gonna do with that? And he's like, you'll see. And he fucking shoves it in my hip, and I was like, what the? I'm screaming. He's like, so much less effort, man.
Wait, is the boom? It's a boomstick, right? That's what it's called.
No, I don't know what it's called, man. That was a big ass metal rod. That's why.
Uh, it was effective, man. I know.
It's like that
I,
thing that India police uses on the back of your legs to grind. I was like, that's what I thought it was. I was like, uh-oh, what's gonna happen?
so I remember when during one of our sessions, you talked about you got into the powerlifting side of things and the training side of things due to an injury, rehabbing for a serious injury you had. So maybe kind of walk us through before we get into like how you got into fitness training, lifting, kin work. Let's take it back. Where did it all start for you? Did you grow up here? Did you move here? How was that? And how was early life? You don't have to spend too much time on it, but
Basically, I was born in Vancouver, and I live in Vancouver now as well. My life has been like I call it the life between the bridge or between two bridges, which is the Nice Street Bridge and the Alex Fraser Bridge. Those are the ones that I've always crossed over. And so 89 to 99 was in South Van, and then 2000 to 2007 was in Surrey. So 2000, 2007 was Beaver Creek and Tamanous. So then that was like I grew up in Surrey essentially, right? In a similar sort of neighborhood. I grew up in Surrey, elementary school and high school. And then right when I graduated, we moved right back to Vancouver. So then basically I got into UBC and then we moved right back to South Van. And then, I kind of stayed here up until I think 20, move back to Surrey. But yeah, the thing with me is it came from an active athletic household. So my dad is one of the founders of Vancouver United, that soccer club.
Okay.
Um, so our family was just super into soccer. All my cousins were into it and stuff like that. So very active household. My dad's had a gym membership since like 1991 at Fitness World, and he would always just work out like every day. He's a cardio guy. That's where my triathlon sort of genetics come from. He would always just be on cardio machines and stuff. And then he took us to basically I wasn't very athletic, so I was the black sheep of the family. So I wasn't very good at soccer. And then eventually he put me in track and field with Universal coach Jesse DeSange and
Yeah.
so then they introduced me to weightlifting. That's where I learned about weightlifting at like 12, 13 years old. So I started doing that then, but we did it for track and field. And by 15-ish or 14, 15, there was like a bit of a rift. The club separated into two. And then I was with his brother. And then I trained with them up until grade 11. But I wasn't very good. I was like basically like a training partner, right? Like we made sure that one guy was able to go to nationals or whatever, and I was a part of the 4x team. When it came to the 200, I never really competed, or the four or anything like that. So yeah, just like kind of semi okay track and field. I got injured in there, and then I'm at Fitness World, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do track anymore. And I'm looking around, and it was a Wally Fitness World, a 108 in like the early 2000s, and these guys were fucking beasts. And so I was looking around, I saw a few bodybuilders, and I was like, oh man, like I want to look like that guy. And I remember the specific guy too. So then after that, I led to like buying Muscular Development magazine, bodybuilding.com, all that sort of stuff, and just hours and hours of just reading different things. Got a job at a vitamin store, started learning about supplements, and then that's where I decided I wanted to go into kinesiology. So for me, it was like one thing was leading to another, right? And when I was at the vitamin store, I realized, oh, I could study this for a living, and I can then have a career in it. And so that sounded like a good deal. So I signed up for kinesiology, ended up getting in, and then kind of did my 4 years at UBC. So at that time, I'm kind of going through weight training, and then I injured myself. I think it was first or second year. Like I was lifting incorrectly. I was trying to deadlift heavy. I had no idea what I was doing. My squat, I was trying to squat heavy, and my squat probably wasn't the best either. And so all of a sudden, just kind of hurt myself. And then I went inactive for a little while, and then eventually kind of got myself back into it when I met a really great strength and conditioning professor, and then she was teaching about how to do proper programming for weight training. And at that time, that was coinciding with the time of when Ben decides that he wants to, create FitNation. And so he gets his BCRPA, creates FitNation, and then, he's talking to me, and he's got clients, and he's like, well, why don't you do this with FitNation? We'll build it together. And at the same time, I'm getting this information from that prof. So then I took everything she was teaching us, and I tried to create it as one of the main rubrics of how we started FitNation. But that's how it led to like putting the links between strength and conditioning and rehab, because I started to realize that when I was lifting properly, I was no longer getting hurt. And it was in that class I learned about starting strength by Mark Ripito, which was it was a good text to kind of get started on. So we learned about the squat, deadlift, and all that, and we took that and drove that into the basis foundation of how FitNation was operating in the early years. And so that naturally led to powerlifting. And so then, when you're focusing on those lifts, then you're starting to think, okay, well, I'll just start doing powerlifting. And in that period as well, we joined in flag football, and we start playing flag football as well. And I start noticing like, there was a time when like Ben and I were doing like, and he hadn't played football ever in his life, and we just kind of brought him on. And we're doing heavy lifting, but then we'd go to the track and we would do like hill sprints. and we went ham. And then there was a time when we were on the field, and like he's getting 2-3 sacks a game, and I'm getting 2-3 sacks a game, and these are guys that have never played football. And we have people asking us, "Oh, hey, you play at UBC?" And I'm like, "I've never played football in my life." So that's where we realize that if you do the right strength and conditioning, the right style of lifting, you can transfer over into all these different sorts of things. And I find that that's kind of where things were at. But then it's like we were driving that powerlifting so much, and then the injury showed up again, and then that's where I had to go back to the drawing board again. So okay, now how do we fix this? So then that's what kind of led to me having to develop a kinesiology approach of how we would do this. And so I kind of got down the rabbit hole with Kelly Starrett and Supple Leopard and the CrossFit community, and the things that they were doing. And then Stuart McGill. I came across a bunch of his stuff and saw that he was helping back pain patients and also powerlifters as well. And then one of the most important was my relationship, or is my relationship, with Dr. Craig Liebenson, who is a chiropractor from Los Angeles, and he was the team chiro for the Clippers, and he's worked with a lot of NBA athletes. And he basically brought a style over from Europe, and I learned it from him, and then tried to kind of drive that into FitNation. But I would say that when you guys were coming in, I was at that stage where I was still very reliant on manual therapy, but I'm not at all now. Like I say now, like if I practice on people, like maybe I'll do manual therapy here and there, but I try to focus mostly just on exercise. And that's what I was finding was a missing piece, even from my experience with you guys, was like, Sonny, I could work on your trap for 6 hours straight,
Yeah.
and maybe you'd get 2 days of relief.
Yeah.
But for some reason we couldn't get that thing to like completely go away, right? And it's
Yeah.
like a real deep rooted issue where it's like, we need to have the right combination of exercise and so forth. And that's kind of where I'm at now, where I'm like, use the manual therapy, but only to a certain point. Because I find manual therapy, it's such a slippery slope, especially with the population you work with. When I'm working with like an Indian auntie, you draw the elbow and the shoulder, and dude, the headache goes away or whatever happens, and she's gonna be like, this person's like a god, and then all of a sudden now she's not gonna do her exercises,
Mhm.
right? She's not gonna care to. She's like, okay, I'll just get the elbow put in, and we're all good. So the key now is showing people that we have to change, like, the load of your training. We have to look at the periodization. We have to look at what's your split look like, how much are you training, and really kind of diagnose things that way, and not be so dependent on, well, I'm just gonna go get needled every Friday and everything's gonna be okay. And by the time I make it every Friday, that thing is just jacked up like
Yeah.
crazy. Like, it shouldn't
Yeah.
be like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, okay, we can unpack some of those things. First, a question that's like sticking out for me is, what are some of with all the experience that you've had in regards to biomechanics and lifting, what are just some of the common things you notice that people are doing incorrectly with maybe some of the big lifts? Because the underlying thing was kind of like, we got to get people training correctly. We got to make sure their mechanics are good, make sure they're lifting right. So
Yeah.
you don't have to go into crazy detail, but
Yeah, that's a great question, because honestly, like, I would say some of my views on a lot of those things have been changing over the years as well. And in part, kind of thanks to people around me that challenge my way of thinking and stuff. I think that when I was at FitNation, like Gavin Kangura, Coach Kangura, Ajay, like they would challenge my style of thinking. Like they would be able to find pieces of work and or other ways of thinking where maybe I didn't think like that. And they would challenge it. And I think there was even a research study that recently has come out, which is, now, I don't want this to promote bad lifting form, but there has been research that's come out that has kind of shown that it's not as correlated with these injuries as we may think it is. Like there was a research that came out about like spinal flexion in the deadlift and how it may be needed. Like I think Marty Gallagher has shared it, and it was a pretty big piece of research. And so my person that I learned from would say, you never do that. Like Dr. McGill, I would never want, and that's been my thing. And now it's like, do I challenge it? Like, what do I do? And so, to be quite honest, like I don't know the answer for you, because at times I used to think the answer to that was incorrect biomechanics. I used to think that in the squat, people were going into that lumbosacral flexion, that butt wink, which was then over time producing some sort of issues in their lower back, and then they produced like back injuries. Um, knee injuries, tendinopathies, and things like that. But one thing that I think that I missed the mark on was like looking at the overall programming that people are running. It's like how much tonnage are you really putting your body through, and what are your recovery mechanisms for that? Because I think a lot of the times it may not be some of the things we think it is, and it is these other things, right? Because like I think a lot of people neglect sleep. I think a lot of people are driven on caffeine more than they should be. So then there's like a lot of these other things that we kind of got to go into. But to be quite honest, man, like that's such a loaded question. It's like, what would you say? Because I would say, okay, overhead press. I would say, yeah, a lot of people, their upper back is kyphotic, so their shoulder range doesn't have good range of motion. And I think that when the thing's going overhead, it's causing some sort of trap issues and whatever. And the squat, I would normally would like, okay, there's something going on with the way that the hips. Because what I've learned about the squat was everybody's hips were different, and with that, it's like everybody's stance has to be slightly different. So then if you found a coach that was that guy that always had everybody squatting the same way, maybe that started causing your injuries, or maybe it was the fact that you.
Oh, I lost him. Screenshot, quick. Screenshot. This is the best one.
I think it's the big picture. I think you have to look at all these other pieces of the pie, and I think most people miss that. Like I don't think anybody, like now that we have like Whoop straps, we have these bio things that can give us the data that we need. I think that will give us a better picture, and then lining that with the form, the way they're working out, kind of gives you the story.
Yeah, for sure. I think some of those things are not perfect in terms of their ability to track, but what they are doing is growing awareness to those things, because I know for myself, there's periods where I would be sleeping 4 hours, food would be on point, training would be on point. I'd pay attention to things like sodium before training, intra-workout nutrition, peri-workout nutrition, everything would be perfect. I'm like, yo, man, I'm not dropping weight, but I'm in a deep deficit. And as soon as I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna deload, and then I went from 4 to like 8 hours. Within a week, it all changed. But the only two variables that changed were I slept more and trained less, and I lost weight. So there's a lot of mechanisms that it could have been, and I agree with you, man. Like it is a loaded question, but I was just thinking, like, for example, I have some people that they think that they have to overhead shoulder press to have big round shoulders. And I have anecdotal evidence of people that are like, they don't overhead press. As long as I have them barbell incline pressing, if they're doing their lateral work, and for whatever reason, I find that like a ton of volume on shoulders, we're talking strictly hypertrophy, not so much from an athletic perspective. Those things grow like crazy. But I think the reason why I like your style is because you're not stuck on one thing. I used to be at 18, 19 years old. Sonny can attest to this. I'd be like, this is the way. Laka taught us this. That's what we fucking do. Right. And if you got a problem with it,
The shoulder
there's
thing
a
is nuts.
door.
Like, you doing that
And it
fucking
used to be like, Jazz, it's a diet that's 5,000 calories, right? We had no business consuming 5,000 calories. For us, for our TDE and all that stuff, like we probably should have been around like 2,500, 3,000 calories. We went straight to like 5,000 because that's what the piece of paper said. And we all did the same diet too. That's the funny part. We're talking like early 2000s, right?
The bear.
Pardon me?
That's why they call you the bear, man. 5,000 calories.
Then right away it's like, okay, you're gonna bench press, you're gonna do 14 sets. Then you're gonna do some accessory work. You're gonna squat, you're gonna do 14 sets, and then we all blew up. It all worked. But the problem is this: I think a lot of people, and maybe somebody listening to this, is gonna be like, they're so fixated on the way they do things, and they think that if I stop doing this movement or if I stop doing this exercise, it's all going to go up in a poof of smoke and all my gains are gone. All my athleticism is gone. All my size is gone. And, like you were always like, yo, dude, like I remember there were phases, dude. You would be like, we're doing this. This is what I'm doing right now. This is my style. Then all of a sudden you're on the Stuart McGill thing and you're like, bro, okay, let's do it like this. Let me see how you move. And I would always see like the changes, but then you would always have this kind of like homeostasis where you're like, you'd come back with the new things you learned to like what Jazz's original stuff is with these new tricks in the bag, right? So I know like that question was a little bit loaded, but I noticed like a lot of things just for me. I thought maybe you noticed some things. Like for example, like some people trying to do a deep squat, the limb length, all that stuff. Like, I absolutely agree. The stance has got to change. Some people are like Sonny can't squat, even though his body's kind of designed in a squatting body, but he's got the knee issue. So the Osgood ladder or whatever, right? So okay. So how did things move into FitNation? So you met Ben, you guys talked about it. It was pretty big at one point. It might still be big. I haven't been there in a while. And so how did things go there? You were doing Ken work there too, but you guys had classes. Did you compete? I guess the main thing was this. Did you compete at any point? Like, because I know you were saying you were doing track in the early days. We went through the progressions of working at a vitamin shop and going to school, getting your education. Along the way, did you compete in powerlifting meets? Did you compete in like more track stuff? Like, maybe let's go with that first, and then we'll kind of taper into other things.
Yeah. So I never, yeah, in track, the last competition I did was at 15. It was like a 4x1 relay in Kelowna. I mean, we did relatively okay, placed like fourth or something. But the best part was that like the people that beat us were in university, and we were 15. And so like it was like, okay, we're not too bad, right? And then after that, I would say, messing around with the weight training, and I kind of focused on flag football, which is a really fun sport when you're playing it at a high level, or if you're trying to play it at a high level, because there's like ex CFL players that'll play and so forth. And so I kind of competed, quote unquote, in that, I would say. And then for the powerlifting, we got to the point where we were wanting to compete, but ended up kind of not competing, and just kind of did the single testing and stuff like that, and kind of like, right when it's like, should we compete? And then I kind of was like, man, and we had a realization, Ben and I did, that we're spending way too much time working out, not enough on the business. Like we need to. There was a time on like Mondays, I think it was Mondays, we would just shut the doors and we wouldn't even answer the phone for like 3-4 hours, right? And we just work out, and it was like you're living out that teenage dream. Like I think one thing was I watched a lot of those like Sean Ray videos, and like Kevin Levroni and like whatever. And like they like wake up and they eat their breakfast and they get in the red Corvette, drive to the fucking gym. They work out for like 2-3 hours, and they come home, and then they eat again, and then they like kind of watch football or whatever, and that's it. And they just like eat, live, like, and I kind of wanted to do that at one point, so I got to live that out for a little bit. So that was fun. But then we had to switch focuses, where we had to kind of put more of the energy into the business. So I got to a point where like, this the highest single I had on squat was like, I don't know, 335. But I think I did a double on that. But my single wasn't very much higher. Deadlift was 470 or 475. Couldn't break out of that. And then my bench was weak. I think 255 was my single on that with the 2-second pause.
What was your body weight when you tested those numbers?
Body weight was fluctuating between 200 to 210.
Yeah, those are respectable weights, man, considering your body weight.
Yeah. And the thing is, my femur is like pretty long, and I'm built. That's it. And because of being in track, I was built to be a runner. So squat is not like, that was like the worst, one of the worst. Like squatting to parallel is not good for my back, and that's kind of where I fuck myself up a bit. And then also with that femur length, now lifting off the floor, deadlifting off the floor is not the best for my back. But I can hex bar lift off the floor with risers, because it's kind of easier for my low back. And so those are the kind of the numbers we hit. But going back to the FitNation thing, like, he was starting grassroots, and we had the conversation when I was in university. And so then I was starting to segue in my last year of like starting to take on clients. So I kind of had my own book of clients. He had his own book of clients. Pradeep had his own book, and at the time Andy had his own book as well. And then we kind of would just use the name FitNation. We would do mobile training. And then by 20, I think it was 13 was when we wanted to get serious about it. And each of our books was growing. And so we were like, we got to eventually like get into a space. And so we started doing these meetings with a friend of ours named Colin John, who had studied marketing at BCIT, but then reinvigorated his love for marketing through, just self-learning, and kind of switched careers and stuff. And he needed a business that he wanted to work with to teach the marketing. He didn't have a business himself. So we started doing weekly meetings where it was like an MBA program essentially. And it was through that kind of incubation phase where we went from being four people down to three. And then from those three, we decided that we were gonna get a lease. So we looked for a space, signed a lease, 146 64th. Ben was working part-time at the bank at the time. He literally went to work, quit his job, right? And had to deal with his mom, right? Afterwards, because like that's a pretty big thing, right? He was there for 7 years and you know, he had so much faith in this brand. So he quit his job and then we kept going. So then what happened is he moved a bunch of clients to his backyard. So he started training people out of the backyard of his house. I started training people out of my garage. And that was like that phase right before the lease. And then right when we got the lease, we built out the space, had the 2,000 square feet. And September of 2014, we started operation in that space. And then at that point, it was all personal training. So I'm not doing kinesiology at this point. I have a degree, but I'm not doing it because there really isn't, like I didn't even know what ICBC active rehab was at that point. And then like September 5th, 2014, I get a friend of mine sends me a requisition for someone and she's like, yo, this person has ICBC case, can you do active rehab? I had no idea what to do. So I'm like, well, how does this even work? How do we bill it? Like, how does it work? So then I took that first file, I learned about the process, and then that's when we realized, okay, well, I have the degree, so I can do KIN. And then Pradeep and Ben, you guys focus on the strength training. For our model, we realized that we wanted to get away from one-on-one and we wanted to do group training, like 1 to 3, 1 to 4. And we wanted to build that. We wanted to build more community, more of a social atmosphere, more of a tribe, right? We wanted to kind of have cohesion in the people that came in. So they focused on that. I still did strength training and then I did, you know, we were trying to develop the KIN, but in 2014, it wasn't that much. I mean, people would, ICBC paid $50 for the session. We charged like a $35 user fee. And then 2015, it started developing a little bit more, you know, so we went out, started to have talks with lawyers and stuff like that. Now, the big thing is I, at this point, had never worked in a clinic. I hadn't even really taken like the proper injury rehabilitation classes in university either, right? So I'm coming from a straight S&C background, like strength and conditioning, bodybuilding, whatever like the Desange brothers taught me from track and field and weightlifting, right? And I'm taking all these things and I'm trying to make it work, right? So then that's when the workshops came in. So then I started getting clients, and then you know Jag's working in a clinic, so he started telling me, hey, there's a guy named Kelly Starrett. He's got some good stuff about rehab. I started reading about Kelly Starrett. Then I'm sitting there. It's 2015. In the mail, we get this advertisement for a workshop that's SFU with Dr. Craig Levinson, and it's like this guy used to be one of the chiropractors for the Clippers. And I'm like, oh wow, like the Clippers, that's crazy. It was like a 3-day thing at SFU. It was like 1,500 or 1,000. It seemed kind of steep. And at the time, I'm like, oh, I don't know, should I do it? Should I not do it? And luckily, I did it. And I went there, and then that's where everything changed. And that's where like he showed me, the chiropractor showing me exercise and showing us ways to reduce pain through like movement. So then I was so like, oh, this is it. I think this is like one of the main things. I think I gotta do it like this. So then I took that and I approached a client of mine, Paul Graywall, and I'm like, hey Paul, I'm gonna sell you on a rehab package. You're gonna see me 4 times in the month, once a week, and I'm gonna give you specific exercises. So I started prototyping a kinesiology package. And that's where, so then I started working on him, started doing some of the stuff. Then I took a class on soft tissue releasing, right? So I started using my elbows and my hands and stuff. Took another class on taping, right? And then I took another class on that. So then I took this in my toolbox and started putting it all together. And then that's where it was like, okay, now let's find the market for active rehab. So ICBC starts trickling in, but we realized, no, we got to do private packages as well. And it was shortly after that where you guys came in. So then it was like, find these different kind of areas where they need KIN work, but they can't, or the physio can't do it, or the chiro can't do it, or they're failing at doing it, and they kind of need you. And what I noticed with the industry, I still notice it now, is that the places that don't have the bridge between the chiro and the weight room, those are the places that kind of suffer. Because like, what happens? You got 10 minutes with the chiro, you walk in, you say, hey, I was weightlifting last week, and then this happened, and blah blah blah. You have like 5 seconds to go, this happened, the guy's looking, is okay, this, it could be this, it could be that, it could be that. And in those 5 minutes, you come up with like some sort of solution. Whereas with us, you guys would be there with me for 45 minutes, right? And I'd go over, like I said, what exactly were you doing? I'd look at your form. I'd give you an experiment, do some different things. And it was through those phases that I learned that, hey, there needs to be equal mixes of exercise. But the thing is you have to use the banded stuff where needed. but you have to progress. People were using the banded stuff for rehab, but then they left it at that, and they never moved on. And I started to look at the pyramid. I was like, I want to fix someone's shoulder. I want to get them to an overhead press, but I got to do all the stuff that comes before that. So then I started looking at it differently. I would say before, like in 2014, 15, I just did the pressing. I didn't give a shit, right? I just did the pressing, and it actually fixed a lot of shoulders. But then, because these people had never trained, but then I started realizing, no, there were some people that needed the banded stuff, and then on top of that, some people needed the manual therapy. So then sometimes it came where, you know, Sonny came in, we release a little bit, we do some banded stuff, and then we do a little bit of weight, and now we see like, how did that work?
Yeah, see, like I remember, I think it was after like maybe 5 or 6 sessions. I was like, "Yo, man, I haven't flat bench pressed in a while." You're like, "Hey, man, the range looks pretty good. Everything looks good." You're like throwing some weight. So I think we got up to like, I think I was like 2 years, no bench pressing whatsoever, and we got up to like 275 for 5, something like that. And you're like, "Oh, damn! So you didn't bench in 2 years, and so it looks like we're going in the right direction." Because most of the time it is like that. You walk in, you get your therapy done, you walk out. There's no integration. And then when I watch the people that actually recover from these injuries, they're doing like even in their training, like their prep work before they get into their lifts. It's a lot different now. You kind of see the change. I remember back in the day, it's like a couple side laterals, couple front laterals, a little bit of band work, and then you go hit the weights. And now it's starting to change a little bit. I see it like integrating now, but let's segue a little bit. When did the running get started with you guys? The marathon running? Because I remember that became big, but that was when I think myself and Sonny kind of exited. We weren't getting treated by you anymore. But when I remember, like I was seeing Lucky, I'm like, dude, you're running now, and then he was saying, yeah, Jas and Ben are also doing it too. So how did that all get started?
Yeah, so basically, I was going through some personal challenges at the time in my life, and I was going through a divorce. And basically, I moved back home, and I was living with my parents again. And my brother was living at home as well. And he came to me at the kitchen table one day. And was like, "Hey, I want you to coach me. I think I want to do a marathon." I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I've done kinesiology classes. I'm sure I could coach you." And so he's like, "Okay, great." So I start researching about marathon. Okay, let's figure this thing out now. You know, we did all the strength stuff and all that other stuff. Now let's do the cardiovascular stuff. That was the stuff in school I didn't care for. You know, I had a prof who he did a lot of research on EPO and he did a lot of research on cyclists and things like that. Like UBC is really known for cardiovascular research. I wasn't into it. I was more about strength training. So now I'm like, let's change gears. And so I realized quickly that you can't really coach someone unless you're running right next to them. And so slowly I started going out with him. And then I was like, wow, this actually feels like I feel mentally, I feel better, you know, and it was a little easier navigating my challenges and the stuff I was going through at the time. And I quit drinking, right? And now it's been 4 years and I'm on my 5th year of no drinking. And so that helped like tremendously with that. And so, yeah, we quickly he wanted to do it. So we started running after about 2, 3 weeks. I signed up for 10K, ran 10K in about 47 minutes. And I was like, okay, you know, this is pretty fun. And then signed up for a half marathon, did another 6 weeks of training, and then ran a 142, I think it was. And then I injured myself. and so, so we had to figure out the whole like training for that. So, or sorry, fixing that.
What was the injury that you got from the
runner's knee, so tendinopathy.
Okay.
So I went to David Goggins, right? Like just all of a sudden just started running, like no real proper loading, no eccentric loading, no, I wasn't doing drills and things like that, right? And so that led to that. And then, so then I get injured and I'm trying to, I think after about a year of this was when like I eventually convinced Ben to run. Like he was so against it, and he just did not want to lose.
He's gonna lose all his gains. That's why, man. You stole all his gains from the.
Yeah, and he was just thinking like running, like what the fuck? And we used to make fun of runners, right? And so, and then at work, there was times when I would run from work, like in between my sessions, I'd run from the facility to like King George and back, and I couldn't do it all in one go. It was fucking so hard, and that's only like 4 kilometers or something. And then I think I got him to come with me. And then I'm like, okay, great. So then the few that were running together, and he was always insecure about it, and was like, I was like, oh yeah, you know, I'm gonna go at my own pace, whatever. And then we start properly running, and then we're doing, programming and stuff like that. But what happened was, when we got together, COVID happened. So also, because COVID happened, the gyms were shut and so forth. They kind of forced Ben to have to come run, because I started the run club, the FitNation. We started running
How
with
did
clients.
sorry to cut you off. How did that affect your guys' business? Because you're like the first business owner that second that I talked to that, talked about their struggles during COVID. Like, how did it affect you guys?
I think we were shielded. Like, it obviously affected us, man. But like, we were shielded in the sense that we were lucky. I could do telehealth appointments for active rehab.
Mhm.
So we were able to actually generate enough income to cover the rent, I think, for those 2 months, which was a benefit. So like, there's obviously, like, the effects weren't just those 2 months, because then after that, the personal training was impacted for a little while, right? Overall, like, it's just like, it was just like, consumers were scared to go to gyms for some reason, so it definitely impacted that. But yeah, man, I was like, thanks to Waheguru, like, that we were in a great, like, a better position than a lot of our cohort, like other people that were in the industry, in a way better position, and definitely came out of that on top, I would say.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I was just wondering. I was curious, but so you finally convinced Ben, and you guys are doing it during COVID. So take it off from there.
Yeah, they were running through COVID, and then I think we did a trail race um, in Chilliwack that fall, that October 2020, and
Is that a marathon or was it just a race?
marathon. It was a half marathon, 21 kilometers. I got crushed. I was one of my worst races. I totally had no fueling strategy. I tried to do it off of no real fuel. I was trying to switch over to being a little bit more high fat guy, right? So then I was trying to see if I could do the thing off of, like, there's guys that can do a full marathon with like less than 50 grams of carbs. And I'm like, that's insane. It goes against everything we've thought. So I thought I could switch over my metabolism. Ben had switched his metabolism over because he had been keto and whatever for so long. And this motherfucker ran a half marathon on 20 grams of carbs. He had this, and he still had liquid left.
Mhm.
And he never stopped once, and he fucking crushed it. And I was like, holy shit, man, this guy is like, this guy's got some hidden talent.
Mhm.
And so I had a bad race, got kind of injured, whatever, and then learned more for the next one. And then we kind of go in, and now we're like kind of training together, and we're going to the track. And, I kind of did a little bit more research, found a couple of programs. We started running a few programs. It was in that run club in COVID where Lucky came in. And so Lucky comes in, starts running. And all we had said was, like, I think I was at the time I was going by heart rate. So I was big on zone 2. So I was telling people, like, just look at your heart rate, stay under 140, just stay that pace. And Lucky, I guess, was pretty fit at the time. And so his speed was crazy. He just took off.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
like, and so we're like, oh, wow. So then it was Lucky, it was me, my brother as well. And then so we started training in 2021. All of us did, what was the first race we did? I think we did a half marathon in Victoria.
Mhm.
We all did it. We had pretty decent times, in and around the 90-minute mark. I think I was 134. I think Ben was like 131. And then we were all within that little period right there. And then after that, we trained for the BMO marathon.
Mhm.
And then,
I prepped Lucky for that one. I remember I was doing his nutrition
yeah,
at the time.
yes, exactly. So yeah, we did BMO. I blew up in that one at like 32K around the seawall. Fucking total destruction. The
Oh
craziest amount
no.
of spasms I've ever experienced in my life. Like, the body was so low on sodium, like it was like just completely depleted, that the muscular contractions could no longer take place properly. So I would like run a few things, and it felt like the calf was about to shoot up. Like, it was gonna
Oh.
spasm so hard it was gonna come up my leg. My hamstring, same thing. So then I barely finished, but I got in at like 3:30, 3:34. Gave my training partners a bit of a fucking heart attack as well, because, like, they're usually used to their like, a guy comes in within a few minutes. So then, like, 10 minutes goes by, you're kind of like, what the hell happened? So they're like, oh my god, what happened? But yeah, that was a rough one.
That's where you kind of just have to tough it out, right? Like your
Yeah, you
body's
learn a
shutting
lot about,
down and you got to kind of just
yeah.
let the will take over, right?
It's a very interesting experience, man. But
That's the
yeah, I
first
did.
time? That was the first time ever for you?
That was my first ever marathon I did. Still the only marathon I've ever done, and I ended up getting IT band syndrome around that one.
No, no, but
And
like
so,
that feeling of the body shutting down and collapsing? Like, was that the first experience of
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah. That was the first experience. Yeah, because
Crazy, man.
I was over it started happening when I crossed over the 3-some-hour mark, right? So I'm probably a guy that expels about 750 milligrams of sodium an hour, right? So if you do the math, I was down almost close to 2 grams by that point. And in my liquids and everything, I don't even think I had made it to 500 milligrams. So now I use a product called Element.
Yeah.
It has 1,000 milligrams of sodium in it, has some calcium in it and magnesium, and I use that now. So as long as I can get in close to 1,000 per hour, maybe hour 10, 15, whatever, then I know I'm going to be safe. So when I did the half Ironman, I was safe.
Okay, so that's good that we got on that topic. So what are you ingesting while you're running? Yourself in particular.
The marathon, I think I was using goo, so like those energy gels. I think I was using goo and I was using Stinger waffles. So there's these they're like little thin waffles, and basically you eat a few chews and it kind of goes down. It's essentially like sugar. So I was using that, and I was using the gel, and then I had my electrolytes in my water bottle that I was wearing a belt.
There's no sodium in those gels, right?
There is, but I think it's like 50 milligrams or something. Like it's
Oh, that's
not
nothing. That's nothing,
for
especially for somebody like you.
for a high salt. Like I'm the guy that at the end of the session I have the white mark all around me, and then basically on my heart strap it's gotten to the point where it actually turns so white that after it dries that you can flick it and actual salt will come off of it. Actual grains of
Crazy.
salt will come off of the thing. So yeah, basically, I mean, I had to troubleshoot that and figure that part out. But I get the IT band syndrome, and during this time, I also, as a part of my journey coming out of my divorce or whatever, was swimming. So I'm running, but I'm also learning how to swim. So I've never swam as a kid, and so COVID's about to come around, and I decide that I want to start to learn how to swim. So I'm like, I want to do an Ironman, a full Ironman by 40. So I'll give myself 10 years to do it. And so basically, I start learning how to swim, and I'm learning, and I get pretty kind of okay proficient at it. And then I get IT band syndrome, and then I'm kind of like, you know what? Maybe I should now this next year segue into triathlon, because then my training will be broken up. I won't be just running 70, 80 kilometers a week. I'll do like 40, 50 of running. I'll do a certain amount of swimming. I'll do a certain amount of cycling, and then I'll do my weights once a week as well. I'll break it down, break it up, and it'll be novel. And one thing for runners that, when you're getting injured, they always tell you to start cross training. So they'll tell them, go start swimming, or they'll say, go start biking. But it's hard to do those things when you're not doing it in a competitive manner. Well, for me, anyways. So I decided that I would just start to focus on maybe prepping for a triathlon. So I started to then kind of swim, bike. Running was non-existent for a little while. So at the time of my injury, I kind of spent more time swimming, a little bit, kind of set up my bike and everything. And then it was 2022 of September, I signed up for the half Ironman, which would have been in this year, so 2023 of May. And so that's when I kind of started, you know what, I'm going to sign up. I'm just going to see what happens. No coach, nothing. Just one of those things that I figured out on my own. So I started doing a lot of research in that realm and in the endurance realm and kind of triathlon and so forth, and figured it out a little bit. And so yeah, I got fitted for a bike. Figured out that was important. Got a good triathlon bike, and then got a fucking indoor trainer, smart trainer. Got a Zwift subscription, and then my running was already taken care of. I created a bit of a program of swimming. By the way, I had been coached by someone for about 6-7 sessions. I was part of a swim club for like one set, which is like 3 months, once a week kind of thing. So I did that, and then after that, I kind of just did it on my own. But then a key thing happened. It was October. It was in November, and I run into this lady at Minoru in the cold plunge, and her name is Hélène. It's a French Canadian lady, and she's in the cold plunge. Started talking about triathlon, and this one triathlete that I follow, his name is Lionel Sanders, and he's like one of Canada's best. And it turns out she used to teach at the pool where he was learning. And so I was like, what the hell? Like, this is kind of weird, right? Like, weird sort of interaction. And anyways, she's into triathlon and stuff. And so she's like, oh, you should come swim with me in the ocean. And I'm like, it's December, so oh, you wear a wetsuit? She's like, no. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, you swim in the winter in the ocean and you don't get hypothermia? She's like, no. And I'm like, what the hell? This is insane. So then I told myself, I was like, great. I signed up for this half Ironman. The swim is in a lake. Well, let's make this as hard as fucking possible in training so that when I go to the race, I'm not like, oh my God, what the hell's going on? So lake swimming is harder than pool swimming, but it's easier than ocean swimming, right? Swimming in a wetsuit, obviously, is easier than freezing your fucking ass off naked in 5-degree water in the winter in Canada, right? So I went the first day and I did a 2-minute cold plunge up to the neck, got out. There's this whole process she taught me of how to get in and out of the water and blah blah blah. So you're safe. And then 2 minutes next week, 5 minutes next week, 8 minutes. But that week was you're gonna get your head into the water. Now you're gonna try to get in a few strokes. And I was like, okay, dude. The second that head went into the water, it's like December 26th, just Christmas, and there's snow on the mountains. I'm in the ocean, in fucking Makachi, right? And basically the water's 5 degrees, right? And so I put my head in, and right away I couldn't breathe. It's like your body just went into shock, right? And so I did like 2-3 strokes and went up. I was like, what the hell's going on? And then I went and tried again, and then I got this crazy brain freeze. Basically, like it was like this brain freeze from hell. I can't even describe it, but it was because the water was skimming down my face as I'm going, and it's just making it colder and colder. And so the following week, I go in and I do 10 minutes, and this time I can get my head in a little bit more. And every subsequent week, it gets getting better and better. And I'm just shocked. And there's these crazy mental benefits. Like I get out of the water. Obviously, I'm like jackhammering in my car as I'm driving home, right? But after about 20 minutes, I get back to normal temperature. And then I'm super focused. My mood is great. Like I can't even put it into words, right? And I'm like, there's something about this cold water stuff going on. And then finally, I did 800 meters, -2 air temperature, 5 degrees water, and I got 800 meters. And basically, she kept building me up. And then in February, she's like, "Okay, now put your fucking wetsuit on," and because you got to get used to the wetsuit for the competition. And so I put the wetsuit on, and obviously now it's so much easier because like you're not gonna freeze your ass off, right? And then yeah, when I got to the half Ironman, fucking breeze. A swim was a breeze. It was nothing. It wasn't like I had made it up to be this crazy thing. People tell you about the human washing machine, which basically is when it starts off, everybody runs in, and then when everybody's swimming, like you got people's feet kicking you and all that sort of shit. And it seems like it almost is like an environment where it's like you're drowning, but you're not. Right? Bubbles everywhere, and there's things flapping over and whatever else. But I was definitely prepared for that because of her, and like the mental sort of tenacity that came with it. So we got to Victoria, and then I signed up for a swim the day before, and that's where I wanted to test out the water. Got in there. I think I elbowed someone in the head. I hope that guy was okay. I didn't get hit, luckily. But yeah, I went through the as I'm going through, and I'm a novice, right? So I'm going through, and I start seeing people stop. They start stopping, they start treading, they start looking around, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on? That's when I realized, yeah, these guys were all swimming in the pool all along. You can't train in a pool the whole time and then show up for a race and swim in fucking open water. You're gonna be fine, right? The other thing is when you're in a pool, you look down. What do you see? The line, right? And it tells you if you're going in a straight line or not. When you look down in the ocean, what do you see? You don't see shit.
Nothing. Yeah.
Nothing, right? And then you got your thoughts and shit too, right? Because now you're out. Because when I was in the cold water swimming, we turn around from the buoy, right? And now I'm about 250 meters from shore. Oh man, I'm like, fuck, my hand feels colder than normal. What if I get frostbite? What if today's the day? What if today's the day I fucking drown? You know what I mean? So the relationship that I had to build with my confidence through ocean swimming, because like there's seals out there, they kind of pop their head out sometimes. They'll be swimming next to you. They're like it's fucking wild out there, right? And like the current picks up, it'll move you, it'll throw you around. The swell starts going, right? Like I don't, like, and basically it's like it lifts you up and it fucking throws you down if it's aggressive enough. And you're in the meantime trying to do all this, trying to stay sane. But in this whole process of it, I would say I've fallen in love with this open water swimming, and I had no idea I would have. So it's kind of like, you know, you go through challenge, tragedy, or whatever you want to call it, you know, bad time in your life, but then eventually it leads to something. And I feel like all that shit led to kind of where I'm at now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. So in terms of marathon running and the triathlete stuff, where do you feel like you are better and excel better in?
Uh, Honestly, I think with the marathon stuff, it's like I haven't done enough to really know what my kind of, if I'm, you know, I feel like I lean more towards the triathlon stuff because I really like the 70.3, which is basically the half Ironman distance. So it's 70.3 miles in total that you do. And so like the bike is about a 3 hour set, the swimming is about 38 minutes, and then the running is a little under 2 hours. Those are my times. So for me, I really like that. Like the day I did the triathlon, I think back to that day and I wish I could it goes down as one of the best days of my life. Like I wish I could encapsulate the way I felt in that 6 hours. Like that 5 hours and 38 minutes or 48 minutes was like the best me time I've ever had. Like I was actually fully fucking present the entire time. I never had a single thought cross my mind of like, oh, what are we gonna do later? You know what I mean? Like I was like right there. And that feeling of being like right there in the energy and like you're looking around and you see like a 60-year-old guy just shredded with like an Iron Man tattoo on his calf, and he's fucking gunning it past you. And you're like, you know what? I think I'm in the right group of people now because I want to live till 100 and I want to do this shit till I'm 60, 70. I think that's where my locus changed, to be honest. I now do sport for longevity purposes, and I might not do it at a very, very high level, but I hope to continue to do it till I'm like 90. So my goal is to just to keep moving, and I think that triathlon is the best for that because it breaks it up. Like cycling is really good for your health and your heart, you know. Um, Swimming, same sort of thing, and then running as well. So right now the focus is to do more 70.3s, maybe do a full 140.6, which is the full Ironman. But marathon, maybe next year, I think, or the following year. But with marathon running, the key is like I feel like you have to have a good period of being healthy. And even if you have some injuries, they can't be too debilitating. I feel like if you're dealing with tendinopathies and things like that, sometimes that can complicate things. Um, and so, yeah, man, I'm gonna take another stab at the marathon stuff in the next couple of years. But right now, I think I plan on doing maybe 1 to 2 or 3 half Ironmans a year because I just find those to be like really exciting to do as well.
How'd you feel after the half Ironman? Were you just destroyed like once your body calmed down, or were you actually like really you felt really good?
Yeah, no, it's surprising because like I was on the phone with Ben after, and Ben and Lucky, they were doing a track workout at the same time, so that we were kind of like timing together. And so, you know, he said, "Oh, you sound like you're fine, like you didn't really do anything." So just to give you the insight on the analytics behind it, when I came out of the water, my heart rate was average 148. Okay, and I'm 34 years old. I think my heart rate max is 187. And so 148 coming out of the water, 140, I think, or 135 maybe coming off the bike. 149 again for the run. So I'm trying to cross the line and I can't go over one. Like my heart rate's not like I felt like when I tried to push it to get it to that high level, I felt like a puking sensation, nauseous sensation. So I wasn't pushing that. But my biggest fear was DNFing. I didn't want to do a did not finish or to crash because the last time I competed before that was the BMO Marathon. And you know, I'm like traumatized by what happened. So what I did this time was I took the bike easy. I did it in 3 hours and 10. The goal was to do it under 3, but it was very hilly. So when I came off the bike, I, you know, kind of put my bike away, came out, turned the watch to heart rate, and for the first 11K, I kept it at 146, like 147, and that was giving me the ability to run at like 5 minutes and like 30 seconds, I think 5:20, some of them, right, a kilometer. Um, and so then the next lap, what happened was, so I'm about to do the last lap, and as I'm going to start my last lap, I see my brother and I see my niece holding up a sign, and it says, "Go Cha-Cha, my Iron Man." Right? And then she's got her hand out like this. So I see her, I slap her hand. I get so pumped at seeing her. And so as I do that, I'm running next to this girl who looks like she's running a pretty good pace. And I say to her, I say, "Hey, are you trying to do a sub-6?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Perfect." I'm like, "Me too." I'm like, "I help you, you help me." She's like, "All right, let's do it." So we start pacing with each other. So like what happens is one of us is a little bit ahead of the other, you're navigating through, and then after another guy takes over, whatever. So we're going, and she's like, "Yeah, I signed up for the full Ironman in Barcelona. I'm hoping to do that in under whatever amount of time." Um, going. And then we get to about 18, 17, 16K. And she starts pushing it. And I can't catch her. And so she started separating from me. And then she just kind of like yells out a little scream. She's like, "Come on, let's go." And then fucking I start pushing it. And for me, the race really was the last 5K. So that was where I felt like, okay, now I'm racing. Now we're trying to fucking do it. And kind of closed in. And that was it. So kind of finished. Didn't feel as messed up as I thought, maybe because of the adrenaline. But surprisingly, yeah, it didn't feel like how I thought it was going to feel like. But I think what I learned was I could probably push it a little bit harder on the next one.
I think it's still a good idea to, like, especially the first time around, you don't want to blow it. Man, if you blow it in that's brutal. And I've noticed that a DNF for a lot of the guys is like the worst thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'd rather take a garbage time, compared to what you normally would want to do, rather than a did not finish. It just seems to be kind of the common thing. And I mean, if I were in your situation, I'd probably be thinking the same thing. I'd be like, all right, just make it through, and you could just always improve on the time going forward. But what was the total time for this one?
This one was 5 hours and 48 minutes. Basically,
So for
sub hour,
people,
sub 6.
so for people listening, that's like just around 6 hours of activity.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I did 5 hours and 48 minutes of activity straight through, maintaining a heart rate of like 146, without any headphones, no music, no real talking to anybody, uh, and basically just like these. I was actually taking in almost 300 calories an hour on the bike. So when I came off the bike, I had 1,000 calories, where I think I had 240 grams of carb, uh, like maltodextrin.
Yeah.
and so yeah, they came onto the run, and like the engine was just going, man. Like the engine was just fucking going, and I'm just rolling. As you think of it after, you're like, holy shit! Like I was exercising for that long. But what I learned in this experience was the human body is capable of so much, man. Honestly, people listening, and even when we're talking about this, you guys are probably thinking, "This is wow, this is fucking crazy, this is insane." I really don't think it is. I really don't think it is. I think that if someone just has the ability to set aside up to 2 hours a day to do cardiovascular exercise, program accordingly, and the great thing I liked about the prep was the fact that it really forced me to continue to wake up at 5 on Saturdays and Sundays, because you get your long rides in on those days. And if you want to have a weekend, then you have to start really early, right? And then that way you have a little bit of your day left over. But the discipline that it brings is awesome. But anyways, going back, like, yeah, there's a lot of people that still now they just like they're casually riding a bike 2-3 times a week, swimming about 3-4 times a week, or 3 times a week, running about 3-4 times a week. If you do less than 9 hours of training a week, like if you do less than 6 hours, you do a 6 hours, you'll just finish. You'll be able to finish. Okay. If you do up to 9 hours, you'll have a kind of a competitive time. 9 to 12 hours, yeah, you're looking at more competitive time. 12 to 20 hours, now you're looking at like really competitive. When you're doing 20 plus hours, you're a professional.
Right? Wow. Okay.
And so I'm a big follower of Peter Attia. Outlive, right? His longevity stuff. I'm really big on zone 2 training. I really think that if we have a really big zone 2, which is that kind of, second zone of heart rate for people, which for me, with my ceiling being 147, there's so many health benefits. There's so many metabolic benefits. And I feel like that's what's really going to cause people to live longer and enjoy their lives as well. Because like I have moments where like, I'll be in a sauna and I'll see an old guy trying to go up the thing. And I'll have this moment where it's like I don't want to be like that. It's unfortunate that he's like that because he hasn't had the right people around him to teach him strength training, to get his cardiovascular health up. But basically, for strength training, I try to satisfy the World Health Organization's recommendations. I just try to get in my 2 days of 60 to 90 minutes. I try to do some of the main lifts, right? I load my tendons, and then I spend the rest of my time in like cycling, swimming, and running, and I try to break that up basically. And I find that it fits in perfectly with my life. It's like you wake up, go for like this morning, went for a fasted 15-kilometer run with that Element product that I have. Came home, showered, had my breakfast, got ready, head right to work. And you feel like you're sharp and everything. And I find that most real successful people that you see, they have these types of routines, right? Like a lot of these people that complete Ironmans are CEOs and or business owners or whatever. And it's like that their choice in sport is a reflection of them as an individual, that they can just get a lot of shit done. And they can be, they can commit to things and follow things through, I think.
Cool. All right, man. So we're at a segment now is kind of like our speed round, which never turns out to be a speed round. It ends up being like, one of us wants to elaborate on a subject, usually me. And then it ends up being like the slowest round. But let's start off, man. Squat, deadlift, or bench press? What's your favorite lift of the three?
I'd say deadlift.
Deadlift? The deadlift?
Yeah, it's hard. It's deadlift or squat.
Okay.
I don't say bench. I don't say bench.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it gives you the best measure. Like they call what king of all exercises the squat because of the ranges of motion, the amount of muscle fiber used, right? So the guy could be argument for that. But deadlift is a great indicator of brute strength, and so that's why I like that one.
Yeah, picking up heavy weight with their hands off the floor. I mean, it's kind of hard not to. What's your current favorite song?
Favorite song? Holy smokes! I listen to really weird music. To be quite honest, I don't even know if I have a favorite song. It really depends on what I'm doing. So I spend a lot of my time reading. So when I'm reading, I listen to Bach, which is like classical music. I listen to hours and hours of.
Is it very similar to like Baroque music? Or is that those?
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
I think you're pronouncing it correctly. I'm pronouncing it wrong. I think it's probably the same thing.
I think you're right. Yeah. So a lot of Mozart classical music when I'm reading, or jazz music when I'm reading. If I'm driving and I'm in a hip hop mood, then I'll listen. I listen to like older Nas, Jay-Z, like that kind of stuff. The new hip hop doesn't really work for me. But I'm really big on because with triathlon stuff, I found that I really got it into a lot of rock and roll, classic rock, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's really hard to say. But you know what? Why don't I just open up what my last song was that I listened to? Yeah, so right now it's Nas, man. It's one of his newer albums. That's what I'm listening
to. Okay.
Fever, I listened to this morning, so I think that's a good song.
Nice. What was the most challenging moment in your life, and what was maybe like a valuable lesson that you took away from it?
Divorce is challenging. A lot out of it. To be honest, I feel like after I got out of that, my intuition changed. Like my ability to make decisions changed. And like just reading energies, reading things, knowing when I'm in the right room or in the right place or not in the right place, when I feel like I should be doing something else, or if I'm in alignment or not. I would say that's kind of what it did. And I feel like that's the case for a lot of people, to be honest, man. You go through something very challenging and traumatic, and when you come out of it, you find that, hey, man, like I can read people's energy differently than I was able to before. I mean, it's kind of weird how that works, yeah.
It's true, man.
Well,
it's crazy how like you can read, like I've noticed on myself over the years, like I can walk into a room and I'm just like, I don't want to be in here.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Like, no, dude, like, and then there's times you come in and your energy is too strong that it's like rattling other people's cages. And you're just You just sit there and observe it. It's so crazy to see because people aren't in tune with themselves, man.
Agree. I agree.
Yeah, you mentioned that you read. I'm huge on reading too, and that's one of the questions I almost ask everybody that hops on. So, what is
Yeah.
what are your top 3 books?
That's a very hard question for me, I think, because like sometimes it's difficult to rank them. Sometimes I do read, like there's been times where I'll finish one a week, so I'll go through like 4 a month kind of thing, and then a lot of times I'll read like a few at a time. But in the last year, I would say the ones that really impacted my life and the way I think, mostly has to do with numbers and stuff. And so there's a Daniel Kahneman, Thinking Slow and Fast. Um, that's a really important book that was for me. And then he also wrote a book called Noise, and that talks about human judgment and how human judgment is flawed. And so like that kind of stuff is really speaking to me as of right now, I would say. But you know that author Robert Greene? He's fucking fantastic. He's the one that wrote 48 Laws of Power. I did audiobook. I listened to audio, but now I'm reading it. And I'm reading, or his book Mastery was also really good as well. So yeah, those are definitely up there. I'm just looking at my thing here. Outlive by Peter Attia, I would say, is up there as well right now for me because of just the impact on longevity, and so forth. And then I'm sure there's like, so Malcolm Gladwell is like one of my favorite authors. So his selection of books and the way he thinks, I would say, comes in its own category. I wouldn't rank them individually. I like them all. I think they're all great. So those would become kind of my picks. But I also enjoy, so anything business related and recently biographies. Those I read. I don't know if you guys know Carl Icahn is, but I read his
Yep, yep.
his biography last week or 2 weeks ago. But yeah, that was fantastic.
You should. Have you checked out Arnold's one on Netflix? Schwarzenegger's. That's a good one, bro. You should check it out. You should give it a go. They did that really well. They didn't just focus on bodybuilding; they focused on everything. So it was really good, man.
I'll check that out.
Okay. There's just a few more, and then we'll let you go. We're kind of going over the time a bit. Sorry to hold you up.
No worries, man. It usually means that it was a good episode if it goes longer, right? Because if you were shit, the guys would have just red lighted you early on and been like, "Okay, cool, man, that's nice. Keep riding your bike, swimming and shit. Let us know how we can help you."
So let's go with your favorite childhood either TV show or movie.
Childhood TV show or movie? Rugrats. I watch Rugrats a lot. Rugrats and Arthur, and the thing is actually my niece now watches Arthur, so I'll watch the old episodes with her.
Wow,
And
it's still
so
like this generation still watches those shows?
well, she does sometimes. So she'll watch Full House as well. So I'll
Wow,
watch
okay.
those with her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are OG shows. I remember those so well, man.
Those
That's our
are
that is our time. You
yeah.
know, haven't you ever had the thought that it's like, yo, man, do we feel like dinosaurs to the next generation? Like we talk about these shows, this might feel like, judo sarda time hunda sa gapa, da dekhte hunde se ge, right? Like it feels like that, right?
It is. Yeah, no, that is exactly what it is, man. That's
Who
exactly what it is. Because it's like that's how it is.
Yeah, yeah. Who would you say is like one of the most influential figures or people in your life?
Well, I don't know, man. That's a good one. My grandfather, my nana, was very influential in my life. I actually have a tattoo of his picture on my chest. So he was very very influential, important to me. But I would say, um, next to him, there's like a family friend of ours, a person that I consider like a cousin, and he's the one that mentors me through business, and as a person I go to when I'm making business decisions and or need someone to discuss things with. But he's essentially the reason I became an entrepreneur. Like he'd been filling my mind since I was like 10, 12 years old and making sure that I didn't go down the wrong path because, he grew up in Richmond at the time of when they had like these, old school gangsters and things like that. So he made sure I didn't make the wrong decisions and then was a person that I could look to and be like, hey, entrepreneurship is possible. Because I feel like when it comes to entrepreneurship, a lot of, in certain operating families, if you don't have people that go into business, it's hard for you to break that cycle and go in. So having him there and seeing that he was successful and like he kind of made it seem like, trust me, man, this is what you want to do. So I would say that he's one of those people. His name is Sandeep Punya, by the way. So he's like a venture capitalist, real estate developer now. But I got to work for him for a little while. Yeah, a lot of lessons were learned from him, and he pointed me down the right direction many times.
Awesome. The last one, the most important question of all, your favorite cheat meal.
Hey, favorite cheat meal. You know, I'm mostly plant-based, and I've been plant-based for I think 2 years or so, maybe a little bit more than 2 years. And there's these businesses on Main Street that were like vegan plant-based, and there's this one place called Planetary Burger, and it was plant-based burgers made from scratch, and they were freaking awesome.
Dude,
So that used to be, yeah, those were one of my favorite things, and they shut the place down because I guess it's not very profitable, right? So basically, a lot of the vegan places kind of went under. But as far as a sweet tooth goes, man, when I'm celebrating something like my birthday or something like that, it's always cinnamon rolls. So I'm a cinnamon roll connoisseur, basically. find different areas of cinnamon rolls and coffee, and that's what I go after.
Well, bro, I appreciate it. Thanks for sitting down and chatting with us, man. It's good to catch up. One of the main reasons why we like to do the podcast is to catch up with people we haven't talked to in a minute. How can people reach you? Are you working more in a clinical setting now, right? Or am I wrong?
Yeah. So no, you're right. So I work at a Prosper Rehab now. I'm basically subcontractor kinesiologist. I do it twice a week now, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I'm spending most of my other time helping scale a cloud accounting and bookkeeping business. So that's kind of where my attention goes for, I guess, majority of the week. And I do the kin stuff in the clinic, where now I can. I would say I really enjoy it now. I needed to separate the two from myself, I think, like the entrepreneurship part of me and the kin part of me. And I feel like when I go to attend to the kin part, I want to just focus on that. And then when I go tend to the business, I just focus on that. So yeah, I'm at Prosper Rehab. And if you need to see me, you can come down to Vancouver South Van. You can see me there. And then my handle for Instagram is j.singjohal. And on my profile page is a link for my newsletter. So I do a newsletter twice a month. If you'd like to sign up for that, it's, I mean, all sorts of stuff I write about, health, wealth.
Is it right?
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, that MailChimp link that you see
right
there.
Over here?
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
So that's
Perfect.
yeah, exactly. So you just go ahead, fill in your email address, and you get added onto the newsletter, and then you can expect 2 newsletters a month from me. That's where I put most of my energy. You can notice that I don't really post as much on Instagram. Like there's some of my posts there, but it's nothing with all that much regularity. Yeah, so for people that are running businesses, like there's a lot of stuff for businesses when you're starting out, things that you want to know from an accounting lens, and from a bookkeeping lens, and just from a simple entrepreneurial lens as well. Yeah, that's the highlight reel for the Ironman 70.3. So the reason why this one was actually pretty decent was because if you notice, there's a staggered start. So these people, we all haven't ran in yet because there's a timer going on. So they walk like 3 people, 4 people, 5 people to the line, then a beep goes off, and then after 10 seconds, the next 5 can go. So
okay.
that prevents the human washing machine effect, basically.
That and somebody getting trampled, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then, well, there was accidents that took place during the bike, unfortunately.
Yeah.
There a few people got crashed into cars and stuff like that, but luckily I was okay. But yeah, so there's a bunch of posts on there. That's the newsletter, I would say, is like the best way to kind of take part in. I do because the thing is what I found was I wanted to do a lot of like posts that I found weren't appropriate for Instagram. Like I wanted to talk about certain books and benefits and things like that, and I feel like the Instagram crowd wasn't like the best for me to get the full message out. So the newsletter was important. So then that's why I kind of switched to that.
Newsletters are better in my opinion, especially gives you an opportunity to detail. You can go a little bit deeper. It's hard to do that in Instagram posts, and a lot of people, if your caption is like too long, they're like, forget this, I'm not reading this. Versus a newsletter, I think it's helpful, man. They get that little bit. Some people don't like it, they delete it. Maybe they like the next one. I like that stuff, and it allows you to elaborate, go way more in depth and stuff.
100%.
Right? So I'm
Yeah, and
totally
then you
for
could
it.
also the Sansar Solutions page is also another page that people could follow if they like, or if anybody has needs for their bookkeeping and or accounting. That's the best way to kind of reach us as well. We work with businesses all across Canada, so we are fully remote, and basically everything's done on the cloud, everything's done online.
Is that
But yeah, that's another.
dot solutions?
Yeah, yeah, that's right, that's right, that's right.
Okay, so
So you can
this
follow
is the
that
page
page.
here.
That's one. That's my partner there. So basically, there's various posts on there, and then there's like some educational stuff that you'll find on there, bunch of humorous stuff that you'll find on there as well. But yeah, many different types of
Cool.
things. Yeah. So what we're trying to do with that is we're just trying to take something that's very boring and dry, like accounting and bookkeeping, and we're trying to add some flavor to it, make it a little bit more engaging, and try to make it a lot easier for people to understand. What I'm noticing, even as I was a business owner, bro, is like it's so hard finding answer to simple things. It's like you're trying to ask an accountant a simple question, like, "Hey, man, can I do this? Can I not do this?" And sometimes it's just so hard finding the right answer. And I feel like that's now an area that I want to tackle, like to simplify running a business for people, simplify the bookkeeping and accounting part of it, really get them to think about things differently in their business. And slowly we're segueing into working with businesses to help them get more leads as well. So we haven't fully launched that service yet, but we do bookkeeping, accounting, and then we're going to be moving into lead generation as well. So helping businesses get more leads.
That's
A lot
good,
of
man.
exciting stuff going on that front as well, for sure. Yeah.
That's cool, man. That's I mean, our tax system is super complicated. Me and Sonny have a good friend of ours that runs his own firm, and he always laughs too. He's like, "Yeah, it's far more complicated than it needs to be." And then if you have somebody that like he's simplified a lot for us. We had to sit down at our house, and I'm like, "Oh wow, like if we didn't know you, we'd be screwed. We're just not aware, right?" So you guys are probably going through that information, looking at like this makes no sense. Like, somebody's gonna go in this direction. Let me just point them this way. I think you know what it is, man. People will realize eventually. Like I remember, like the Desi mentality used to be like, why am I gonna go pay this guy $75 to do my taxes when I could pay this guy $50 to do my taxes? And now I'm like, bro, the question's like this: what if I saved you $30,000? Would it be okay if you say you paid $1,000? Like, hell yeah. If you're gonna that's $29,000 that I save. It's a no-brainer, but nobody thinks like that. And I'm hoping that with our generation, I feel like the changes have started to happen where it's like, let's go a little bit against the old mindset. And to be completely honest, me and Sonny have conversations about this all the time. We don't shit talk the old generation, like our parents' generation or our grandparents' generation, because a lot of them were just going based off of what they thought was the best to provide what we are now all able to do now. I don't think our parents, even if they wanted to open up a business, not everybody had the opportunities. They didn't have the backing. We live in a time now where it's like, yo, dude, like entrepreneurship is kind of the way. You should look at something that you can do. You don't have to keep doing overtime at work. You can kind of just spend 4 or 5 hours do something else, right? But super cool. I'm gonna make sure we link Prosper Rehab and the Sensata Solutions on there as well. Anything you want to say while exiting? Anything you want to get out there? Anything that you're currently promoting or anything like that? Just
Oh, I would just say there's this one thing that really like, because like I kind of think about things in terms of like, people saw me in the market or in the space where it was like, I had the kinesiologist role, and that was the main way I guess that people may have identified me. And then now it's all of a sudden like, oh, wait a minute, like people kind of get taken aback, or they're like, wait a minute, how do you go from one thing to like accounting and whatever? And I used to be like, yeah, like I used to think like that. It's going to be hard making a pivot, right? Making a pivot can be difficult because you think that everyone sees you a certain way, and it may be difficult for you to make that pivot and then get people to see you in a different way. And as I was thinking that, I'm listening to a podcast, and this guy's talking, and he's like, "There's a saying in Silicon Valley, nobody cares about what you did; they just care about what you're doing."
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, like
is that Jaspreet Singh?
No, it was a Ramit Sethi, but I don't know who he was talking to. Like it was
I know
someone
him
that he
too.
spoke
He's
to. 'Cause
how like he'll make you. He's got that book, right? How to.
I will teach you. I will teach you to be
That's right.
rich. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
re
yeah.
yeah.
But when I heard that, and I was just like, yeah, you know what? That makes so much sense. So for anybody that's out there, like I know that pivoting and or sometimes taking on different roles or switching roles or things that happen, especially for millennials, because now we're noticing that like average person is switching jobs many times. But don't ever let that kind of stop you from making certain decisions. You only live one life. So I feel like our journeys, you're learning so much along the way, and you'll never know where you can apply your skills and where you'll be rewarded for it.
Yeah, and let's not be mistaken, man. You have been a part of the entrepreneurial side as well. It's not like you're going from zero to like this new thing. You've operated your own business. You guys have done and all like basically gone through all that stuff. You know, how is it to run a business, and then uh, basically from startup to getting it to a well-established business, and then managing that and lead gen and lead nurture, and then basically like converting that to more income and more value for people. I think you already got a lot of experience, and I think it's something you're passionate about. And it's also one of the things I talked about before we set this all up was you always are like, man, I'm just gonna do this. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I like lifting. I'm gonna do this. Yeah, Ben, let's do the gym thing. I'll hop in too. I like kin stuff. I'm gonna do that. Then it's just like I like the fact that there are people that are willing to just kind of be like, you know what, I don't have to do this. I don't want to do this. I'm gonna change it. And then it's like it's cool. I like that. You know, I'm the same. For me, like I'm gonna change this. Now I want to coach people. Right. Then from here I want to coach people in person. Okay, I feel like I can help more people through jujitsu. And I like that. And then you know what? You know, sometimes I don't know about you. I don't know about you either, Sonny. Sometimes you feel like, yo, man, like my life's kind of boring, isn't it? Like I didn't do very much, did I? It's like,
Yeah,
man, are people even
yes,
gonna talk
yeah.
about me afterwards? Like, or is this guy like that just like ate his meals, went to the gym, and sat at home? Like, and then when you take stock of everything, right? Like, you're like, holy shit, we've done a lot, right? Like you look at like,
Right.
oh, I did this, I got this, I was in this career, then I have this. Like even for Sonny right now, Sonny went from like just being a gym bro to then getting to the nursing industry, then to being a manager of that area, right? And then now like the dole stuff is picking up, and then now they're in the chair industry. Like there's so many things are going on, but you never like we never take stock. We're like, fuck, I got to do something else. I could do better, and it's crazy when we just sit back and maybe reflect. It's like, damn, some wild ride, you know?
That's it.
Yeah. So, man, thank you again. Appreciate it. I'm
Thanks
glad
for
you're doing
having me.
well.
I appreciate it. Thank you, man. Thank you.
I'm glad you're doing well. I'm super excited for you, and I hope the work at Prosper keeps going good, and you really take off with the Sensar solution stuff, man. Thank you again.